Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 220 for the 6th of January 2013. Another year of the Skeptic Zone, and I was just having a look through the back catalogue of the Skeptic Zone, and I realised that the Skeptic Zone has now been webcast, in 6 different years. Wow, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and now 2013. Fantastic. And what better way to start a new year than an interview with James the Amazing Randi? And what better way to have an interview with James the Amazing Randi than conducted by Maynard. Maynard caught up with James Randi at the Melbourne convention not so long ago. And Maynard asks the really tough questions like, what car does James Randi drive? That's coming up at the top of the show. After the break, it's Dr. Rachie of Dr. Rachie Reports reporting on the latest goings-on. It's a never-ending story with the Australian Vaccination Network, soon to be called something else, of course, because they have been required to change their name. Dr. Rachie takes a look at this outfit and the relationship they have with Google searches and the strange and bizarre goings-on at their website. And to round off the show, Maynard's back again. He went to Skeptics in the pub here in Sydney not so long ago, and he asks a lot of people about their predictions for 2013. That's coming up to round off the show. Later on in the show, I'm going to run a little promotional bit I've received to do with the Dr. Basinski Cancer Clinic. And if you can't wait for the later on in the show, the URL to remember is www.thehoustoncancerquack.com. thehoustoncancerquack.com. More information there, or listen to the little promo coming up later on in the show. 2013 is going to be a fantastic year, my friends. 2013 is going to be a great year. We're going to have another wonderful convention that's coming up in November in Canberra. Yeah, the Australian Skeptics National Convention will be in Canberra this year, later on in November. So we've got a year to sort of warm up to it. Lots of special guests, lots of good fun, and you'll hear more about that through the course of the next few months, I am sure. But right now, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the sad news that a good skeptic has recently died in California. And not only a good skeptic, but a good magician too, Bob Steiner. Now, some Australians will remember that a long time ago, and I can't quite remember when, I think it was the late 80s or early 90s, probably the late 80s, Bob Steiner came out to Australia under the guise of a Californian psychic called Steve Turbo. Anyone on various chat shows, the Bert Newton show and the Darren Hint show at the time, and I think even the Steve Vizard show from memory, to play a joke, to convince people he was really a wonderful psychic, and he had all sorts of people believing in him, but he was really a skeptic out to make a point. I think we'll have something more to say about Bob Steiner in the next issue of the Skeptic magazine, the magazine from Australian Skeptics, but sad to know that Bob Steiner died a few days ago. But for now, I'm back in Sydney, Australia. Wow. Is it hot in Sydney, Australia? After spending a few weeks in California, lovely, crispy, cool winter, I'm suddenly thrown back into the middle of a ridiculously hot summer with more heat wave conditions to come. Oh, I can't wait for that. So I'm going to celebrate the new year. I'm going to run downstairs, open the chilled champagne, have a glass to toast you all. And while I'm doing that, you can listen to The Skeptic Zone.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance. It's December in Melbourne, and every December in Melbourne, it rains James Randi. You can't go anywhere without tripping over one, and over the past couple of days, that's what's been happening. James Randi, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and I'm having a marvelous time. I'm meeting such interesting folks and, groups of people and individuals. Melbourne is a revelation. It really is.
Now, when were you last here?
I hate to tell you, but I think it was in 1981. That's when I confronted Don Lane. And I think that's the last time I was in Melbourne, though I find that hard to believe. I do so much traveling. It's all a melange in my poor old head. But
Because how old are you now, sir?
I'm 84 all day. And I always say 84 going on 100 because I'm an optimist.
Now, James, I was thinking about you at about 3:30 this morning because there were some bogans in the hotel room next door to me that woke me up. And I thought, now when I'm asking James, Mr. Randi, something, because people go, oh, yes, he's part of Big Pharma, he's on the government side with disinformation. I thought, hang on a minute, let's turn that around. You are someone who is into rationalism. You're someone who has a lifestyle that maybe 3 different successive presidents might not have supported. How come you haven't made so many enemies that you're on the receiving end of some conspiracies?
Oh, I just may very well be, but, at 84, you sort of mellow. I think I should have mellowed 20 years ago, but I'm mellowing now, and I take these things in turn, and I've learned to ignore a great deal of flack from my detractors out there, and I'm sure they are legion, as they say. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I guess you just get to a certain point and you go, eh.
Yeah, is exactly right. I don't know how you spell that, but that's exactly what it is, yes.
And has the term woo-woo got to where you want it to be yet? That means, I always use just woo because woo-woo sounds a bit like a train or something, but you want to get woo-woo into the dictionary.
I would love to get woo-woo at least into the American dictionary, and I want to make sure it's a hyphenated woo, and that would just be a sort of an accomplishment for me. It'd be one of the things I haven't done yet, so I guess I better hurry up and do it.
Now, throughout your career, you've dealt with a lot of different, various conspiracy theories. Do you think who is doing these conspiracies has changed? Has it gone from being the government to somebody else? In your lifetime, has the suspicion of who shot Kennedy changed from so many different people that it's come around full circle? Have you noticed a sort of a trend?
I don't know. It's very hard to say, and I think it varies with different levels of society and different nationalities of society. But I see a great deal of this conspiracy theory going on, and as a matter of fact, no, I shouldn't mention. A very famous scientist, one of his sons, has gone completely conspiracy mad. He believes that everything is a conspiracy. It rains, and he says, aha. Suddenly he'll make an observation. It's not quite that bad, perhaps, but almost. He cannot imagine that things just happen. That people die or people step in front of speeding trucks or fall off buildings.
When you look at something like the banking crisis, but you do have people that are in control that can make things happen.
Oh, yes, they can, and they do, I'm sure. And a lot of it we're very much unaware of. But if we can't do much about it, what we've got to do is we've got to learn to live within our own space and within our family space and our friends and whatnot, our community, and we've got to be able to survive. Survival is the name of the game, after all, with any species.
And do you think this is part of why people have theories and worry about anomalies, because they're worried about something that's going on in the background?
Oh, yes, of course. And for them to take the conspiracy idea very seriously and attribute everything to conspiracies, I think is very unhealthy. But perhaps they need it. I can't dictate people's needs. Of course, they know their own needs are. They think they do.
You've investigated a lot of things in your time. Is there something that almost looked like it was going to be real up until the last moment?
Oh, Sophia Loren and I, it was a long shot, but and I'm joking. I really am. Don't tell Sophia I said that. No, I've named my car Sophia for many years now.
Oh. Actually, what kind of car did the amazing Randi drive? Let me have a guess. Let's see. Magicians often like flashy stuff. You might have gone with a Rolls. Would that have been what you went with?
I could have retired if I'd gotten a Rolls. If I could have afforded to get a Rolls, I could have retired long ago. But I don't want to retire anyway. No, I have a Miata. It was suggested to me by a knowledgeable friend, and it hasn't given me a moment's trouble, so I'm just holding tight.
Wow. Also known as the MX-5 in this country, I believe.
I don't know.
It's a Mazda, isn't it?
It's a what?
A Mazda, isn't it?
A Mazda Miata, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's a kind of a sporty car, sir.
It is. Well, I'm sporty character, yeah, sure.
Now, look, you mentioned that you've done some work with Frank Zappa. Now, I didn't know that. I realised you'd done a lot in the entertainment field. And you supported Frank Zappa at Madison Square Gardens. What year would that have been?
Well, it was just a very brief encounter. I was just called by, I guess, his manager, and I was working a magic show at the time at Madison Square Gardens, and they just asked me if I could be part of the Frank Zappa production that was going on, and I said, but for how long? Oh, just one episode, because we got a particularly wild crowd coming in here tonight, and we need something to get the show started. So I went out there and I did my straitjacket upside down. It's a minor thing, but what the hell, it made me a living, and I was paid handsomely for it. And Zappa just met me and said, well, happy to know you, he said, but this is a brief encounter. He said, they're throwing up in the aisles. They don't know I'm here. They don't even know if they're here. He said, they're all on dope. They're smoking in the audience right now, and et cetera, et cetera. And he said, just do the show, collect the money, and thank you very much. But then I ran into him on subsequent occasions under strange circumstances, once in Mexico City, and then another time in that was on Broadway, yes, when the Merlin show was playing there. A very, very expensive show that could never have paid for itself. It had to go for something like 2.5 years or so at top.
And who was the magician working on that show?
That was Doug Hang, yeah. And Doug wasn't very realistic in many cases. Well, certainly not in his belief in the Maharishi, I would say, certainly. But I was always sympathetic with Doug. I got very nice letters from him over the years.
Yes. Now, does it surprise you? Because I see many magicians getting involved in the skeptical movement, and because they create illusions, so they understand illusions. So why would they be drawn to something that could itself be an illusion? Why do you think that?
Yes, I don't know, but I don't know what Doug's basic education was as a youth. Though he was born and raised in Toronto, Canada, or very close to it, and he seemed to have a good education. He seemed to know what made the world work. But when it came right down to the Maharishi, he was captivated by this silly, giggling guru, as I've often referred to him, and he was taken with it. I think he couldn't quite believe that a nice little old man with a beard, come to think of it, I'm a nice little old man with a beard, and from India particularly, could possibly lie to him or deceive him. But again, it wasn't the Maharishi that was the enemy, it was the management. The Maharishi was an organization, he wasn't an individual. Of course, the individual was at the base of the thing, but I think that the management ran away with the Maharishi. They just took over, and he was just their figurehead. They sat him on a cushion, and they said, say silly things.
I've seen a few of your appearances on the Johnny Carson show in the US in the 70s. You couldn't imagine someone like yourself going on the Jay Leno show now, and Jay Leno doing a skeptical thing. You couldn't really see that happening now, could you?
Well, I actually was given a call by the Jay Leno people, several years ago, and I've forgotten exactly what it was all about. But I told them on the phone what my attitude would be, and they never called back. And they also said that this is not the kind of thing that Jay does. And that's his business. He knows what he does best, and I shouldn't be complaining.
Is there a show on TV you regularly watch these days, or are you too busy?
Well, I usually tune in of all things, to the Today Show, first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm always up by 7 o'clock. And I just get the news that way, and I just sort of square myself up for the day. I know how to handle the news that they handle on the Today Show. I know what they filter out and leave in. So I sort of understand their limits and their directions in which they go.
It's a bit like Fox News. If you're watching Fox News, you know exactly where they're coming from, don't you?
Exactly. Don't believe a thing they say. No, that is scary that Fox News is so powerful, and so many people will tune in to Fox News, and I can't figure it.
Now, this must be one of the disappointments you get because you've worked so long through your life to try and get people to see reason. That's an example of a biased news outlet, but there's so many things like Popov. You tried to bring him down and he's made more money than the year you exposed him. That must get you down.
Well, not really, because I sort of expect it. I don't. There are so many irrational people out there, people who don't think, and people who would like nice answers. Oprah Winfrey is the queen of all of them, of course. She will give money and support to anything that sounds okay. Sounds nice. I think I'll give some money for it. She bought Dr. Mehmet Oz, his own series on television, for example. A wonderful, from what I understand, cardiac surgeon. Very renowned in that field, yes. But other than that, he doesn't make any sense at all. I only had one short run-in with him, and it never amounted to anything really, but he saw that I wasn't a woo-woo, and he couldn't talk to me any longer.
Do you think people see that there's no money or there's no future in debunking? Is that what they're concerned about?
Oh, I don't know what concerns them. They have to have their own standards on a thing like that. But to me, there's enormous satisfaction in being able to inform people. I inform them. If they don't want to listen, they don't want to follow what I suggest to them, that's their choice.
And how do you see our conference here that's gone on in Melbourne? What do you make of the makeup of the people? You've just had a lunch with the young Australian skeptics. How are we looking?
Oh, yeah. It's very healthy. I think it's very healthy, and I just hope that these young folks who have a critical attitude about accepting woo-woo and what's easy to accept, I hope that they affect the community around them. I think they can become crusaders, or at least straighten out their own lives if they're not already straightened. I have great faith in it. I'm very confident. I really am. I don't know whether I'm going to live to see any huge change in that respect. I have seen changes during my short existence of 84 years.
And what is the one that's made you feel most positive?
Oh, well, the general attitude about atheists. Atheists are now not shunned like lepers or have stones thrown at them. People will sort of shrug and either believe it or accept it or not accept it. It's up to them. But I declared myself to be an atheist and to be gay years ago. So a gay atheist, damn. At one time that was something intolerable. Society would throw stones at you no matter whether you're around the corner. They'd still throw stones. But now it's reasonably acceptable, and
again, I think I mentioned to you just after that was made public, there was a big "so what" when you came out. You know, it was like, oh yeah, right, okay, yeah.
I didn't have a bad moment from it. Yeah. To tell you the truth, not a bad moment. I got the usual one or two people on email who said I knew it all the time, kind of thing. And okay, so you knew it all the time. Go away.
So did a lot of my friends.
Yeah, exactly, and so did my mum and dad.
And is there one? You've been very busy talking to people. I'll have to let you go up and down the lift, as I know you like doing here. It's great fun. Is there one woo or extraordinary claim? And I've been asking a few people this that you wish was real. Is there one of the claims that people make that you've had to deal with over the years that you thought, gee, that would be good if it was real?
I wish there were some way of perhaps bringing healing power to bear on folks who deserve a better shake of the dice than intelligent design has given them. I mean, we're all the products of so-called intelligent design, which is, I would say, it's rather stupid. I wish that the species didn't have the weaknesses that it has, but that's evolution, that's biology, that's nature, and we have to manage to survive in spite of it. Now, in my lifetime, the changes that have taken place just in oncology, for example, I could not have survived if the cancer that hit me some years ago had hit me 6 or 8 years before that. I would have a very, very small chance of surviving. But when they saw it, they said, okay, this is what we got to do. And I said, go ahead, do it. And I'm still here. And that's the unfortunate thing. It just, as a literally billionaire friend of mine once told me, he said, I'm rich enough that I can get frozen and stored in a locker if I really want to, if something hits me that I know is going to kill me unless they do better research on it, and just lay frozen there until they get it. And that's not such a bad notion, if you got the money. Of course, you don't want anyone to drop you and break you while you're doing it, while they're moving you around to dust underneath you, But yeah, he has the notion if he can sort of pay to wait. And maybe he can. I don't know. It's a case of if you've got money, you've got a much better chance. And that's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Look, you've heard and seen it all from to naturopath claims to MK Ultra. We've been discussing all sorts of things here at the conference. What's the takeaway message you'd like people to look at the world in a slightly different way after coming to a conference like this?
Well, I just hope that they've listened well enough to at least some of it and have gone away thinking about it seriously. I get mail all the time, which is very encouraging. And such things as letters from people who say, I thought you were so-and-so and you read this, that, and I hated you, and I read your book Flim Flam and I hated every word of it. And, I saw you on such and such a program, or I read this blog or whatever. And now I'm prepared to take a different look at it. That is so encouraging. You may possibly have made a change in someone's attitude, not towards myself. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for them to make a change in their philosophy and their view of the world and how it works, and not being afraid to see how it really works instead of pretending. And many people have told me that I've made a difference in their lives. Every time I hear that, I swear if you turned out the lights, I'd be glowing.
James Randi, thank you very much, and thank you for doing a magic trick with me the other day. I believe it's known as the book trick. You did that with me, but I just enjoyed being bamboozled, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, you're a bamboozilee in that case.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
AstronomyCast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
Now it's time for Dr. Rachie Reports with Dr. Rachael Dunlop.
Hello everyone and welcome to Dr. Rachie Reports. Well, more news this week on the Anti-Vaccine Network, or the Australian Vaccination Network as they prefer to be known, as this week news arose that their google.com.au ranking has fallen dramatically. This is particularly important, and I'll explain why in a moment. But for years and years, the AVN has ranked number 2 on the Aussie Google site, often just under the Wikipedia page. But today it was noticed they have tumbled all the way to number 9, which is second from the bottom of the front page. This was picked up by Melbourne skeptic Chris Higgins, who has been following the direct pills hack on the AVN website for some time. And for those of you who don't know, the AVN used to use Joomla as their content management system, but earlier this year took their site offline for several days to migrate to WordPress. But as early as April 2012, Meryl Dorey was already posting questions in the WordPress forums saying she had received notification that someone had tried to change her password and that a new admin account had been set up. This later resulted in pharma spam appearing under their name in Google. And even more recently, links from Google redirect immediately to directpills.com. Now, according to Chris Higgins, who has dealt with this type of hack before, the only way to remove it completely is to delete the site and start again. Yet even though Meryl has apparently been aware of it since April 2012 and had a budget of $16,000 for computer costs in 2010, the hack remains in place today. And as proposed by another blogger at dilutedthinking.com, this poses some rather interesting questions with respect to security of the AVN's website, especially since they have a shop and a vaccine adverse events reporting form linked to their site. I wonder if the Privacy Commissioner would be interested in hearing about that. Another thing that has likely affected their previous high Google ranking is their poor ranking on Web of Trust, or WHAT. Now, WHAT is a crowdsourced tool that collates website ratings from users under 4 categories, and then it plugs into your browser and gives you warnings depending on the ranking of the site. The categories are trustworthiness, child safety, privacy, and vendor reliability. Based on what I've already revealed, you might suspect that the AVN ranks poorly in all of these categories, and you would be right. This might not normally be an issue for them, except that earlier this year, Facebook partnered up with WHAT to protect their users from unsafe websites. So this means that any time the AVN put a link to their website, which also incorporates their blog, by the way, on their Facebook page and users try to click through, they get a giant dialog box that says, "Warning, this site has been deemed abusive by Facebook partners." Now, what effect this has had on their Google ranking, I'm not sure, but it certainly has prevented some people from clicking through because they often come back to the Facebook page and describe that they don't know how to get past the warning. So why does a fall in Google rankings even matter? Well, actually it matters a lot for several reasons. Firstly, the most recent statistics about Australians' computer use show that about 80% of us now have access to the internet at home, and the use of mobile devices is on the rise, so nearly all of us have access to the web 24/7 wherever we are. Also, half of us now self-diagnose online, and 70% of us research our medications online. With respect to Google, it's the search engine of choice for 93% of us. So when it comes to sourcing information about our health and medication, Dr. Google dominates. But more importantly for the AVN, evidence suggests that online health information seekers examine the first 10 search results 97.2% of the time. So 97.2% of people do not go past page 1 on Google. This makes it even more important to keep your website on page 1 if you want to get maximum exposure, or actually really any exposure at all. So even if parents do find the AVN site, do get past the WHAT warning and do click through, we do know that if they land on an anti-vax site, spending as little as 5 minutes can influence their decisions months down the track. And we also know from research that parents who exempt children from vaccination are more likely to obtain their information from the internet than parents who have had their children vaccinated. So if you were to search google.com.au for vaccination today, the first hit would be Wikipedia, which fits nicely with evidence that for any search term on Google, Wiki ranks among the first 10 results in 71 to 85% of search engines and keywords tested. And the 9th search on google.com.au today would be the AVN, down from number 2. Now, if you search google.com.au for the AVN page, the first hit is their site, followed by their wiki page. Now, this is also interesting because according to a recent article published in the internet journal called First Monday and written by an AVN sympathiser, Professor Brian Martin, the AVN seems to be not especially happy with their wiki entry. I've previously blogged about the reasons why, and you can find that on the skepticsbook.com if you want more information. But they have tried to edit the bad words from the page with no avail. Sadly for the AVN, however, based on its search engine ranking and page view statistics, the English Wikipedia is a prominent source of online health information compared to other health information providers that have been studied. So most people will land on Wiki and most people will read Wiki. So taken together, it's not looking good for the AVN's online profile. Search Google for vaccination and they've tumbled to 9th position. Search the AVN on Google and you get a big pharma hacked site immediately followed by a detailed and scathing wiki entry. I don't know how long or if the AVN will ever fall off page 1 of Google completely. But funnily enough, they're currently being shadowed by the Stop the AVN Facebook page, which falls at number 10 on page 1, which I guess kind of seems appropriate. But imagine if they do fall off page 1 of Google. There would be a lot less misinformation about vaccines getting out to Australian parents, and this can't be a bad thing. If you'd like to read more about today's Dr. Rachie reports, you can find 2 blogs on this topic at skepticsbook.com. And until next time, this has been Dr. Rachie Reports.
Dr. Rachael Dunlop is one of Australia's foremost media commentators in matters concerning so-called alternative medicine. She has appeared on national radio and national television. Dr. Rachie is available for interviews, and you can contact her at Rachael@skepticzone.tv.
Last year, Houston cancer quack Stanislav Brzezinski made headlines around the world when someone he had hired issued legal threats to bloggers who called him out for charging patients hundreds of thousands of dollars to enroll in so-called clinical trials for over 35 years. This year, the Skeptics for the Protection of Cancer Patients is raising funds in Stanislav Brzezinski's name for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We want to raise at least $30,000, the cost of enrolling in one of his trials. On Dr. Brzezinski's 70th birthday, January 23rd, we are going to issue a challenge to the Brzezinski Clinic to match the total funds raised by skeptics and supporters of sound science. Whether or not Brzezinski chooses to participate in our fundraiser, we'll be able to say this is probably the greatest thing ever accomplished for cancer research in his name. Visit thehoustoncancerquack.com and give until it hurts. His bottom line.
I'm here at perhaps the most gifted people as far as like seeing the future possibly ever could be. It's Skeptics in the Pub. I predict that fairly shortly I'll go to the bar yet again and be refused service. But, you know, that's a repeating kind of thing. Like time is in a circle, as we all know. It's not in a straight line. And also I predict that sometime in the coming year I will no longer be employed at the ABC under perhaps controversial circumstances. But it's just a prediction. Now, around you've got at least a crystal ball that we've spoken about. What do you got as predictions for 2013? Put your money where your crystal ball is.
Okay, well, I predict that Bert Newton will have a health scare and his son will have a legal scare. I predict that there will be an election in Australia in 2013. I think Tony Abbott will win. Yeah, I can make that prediction. Why not?
Well, the word uncanny comes to mind. And budgie smugglers, that also comes to mind.
I think I can't think of anything else right now. It's just I've got budgie smugglers in my mind now.
Look, we've got Jessica over here.
Oh, yes. Just...
By the way, this is not Jessica the astrologer, by the way, too. A lot of people get you mixed up. This is Jessica the skeptic.
Oh, I get mixed up with an astrologer. How exciting.
Jessica Adams. So she's been on the show before. She's my favourite Australian astrologer.
Oh,
You'll be much more accurate than she is, I'll tell you that.
Oh, well, I'm going to think big. I'm going to think tsunami. I'm going to think earthquake. I'm going to think volcano.
But why are you going so big? I mean, Jessica Adams, the psychic, only said that The Great Gatsby would be a hit. I mean, why don't you go with something like that? So are you saying that The Great Gatsby won't be a hit?
No, I'm sure The Great Gatsby will be a fantastic hit, but I like a grand scale to things. I like a global perspective. I like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, actually, we've got someone. Who we got here?
This is Peter Bowditch.
Now, you have a tradition for getting quite a good percentage right on these predictions, don't you?
Well, I didn't do any predictions for 2012.
Oh, well.
But for 2010 and 2011...
Well, no one predicted that.
No, I didn't. But for 2010 and 2011, I made predictions which were published on the Yahoo website in January. For 2010, I got 81.25% correct, compared to professional astrologers psychics who averaged 7%. And I got 84.5% for 2011. What I'm going to do for...
But you're saying stuff like in the Monty Python movie, there'll be rumours of things going astray and stuff like that.
I made quite specific things. Like, for example, I said there will be a scandal involving a footballer and a teenager who put stuff up on Twitter. I also made a quite specific one, and I think I'll make this again for 2013, that there will be tsunamis or earthquakes and floods that affect 9 countries with an A in the name.
But again, I mean, people could say, like you were accused of, you're being a bit obvious there. You're actually thinking about what might happen and saying it. That's not prediction.
I predicted the wedding of William and Kate.
Yeah?
Yeah, I predicted that.
Well, have you got any celebrity predictions for us?
Celebrity predictions for this year? I predict... And I don't want to name people because it puts a hex on their marriages and that.
Let me ask, a guy whose name starts with M may leave the ABC under controversial circumstances. Is that what you're about to say?
That's always on the cards, that one, isn't it? Hardly worth predicting at all. Now, what I'm going to predict is that at least two high-profile Hollywood couples will separate. Within 2 weeks of the separation being announced, one of them will be seen in the company of another person, and there will be immediate denial to that person had anything to do with the breakup.
I think you should have stuck with there'll be rumours of things going astray. I mean, because that's about as likely as that one.
I could predict an election in Australia, but I think that, that's pretty... I won't predict the outcome of elections because I don't want to influence the outcome of elections.
Oh, yeah, well, that is possible.
No, so there will be an election, but I'm not going to predict... I'm going to predict, however, that it'll be a close election.
Okay. So
not as close as the last one.
So you're saying there's like a Heisenberg principle of elections going on here, that if you, say who might win, that will actually affect the outcome?
Oh, I think that's certainly the case. I've done this in the past.
Well, thank you, oh great sage. And I mean that in the
I know what sage is. It's some kind of herby stuff you put inside chickens.
That's right, yeah. Let's go smoke some sage.
Good idea.
Look, I'm here with Tim Menem. Hi, Tim, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Maynard.
Now, I can see that you're affected by the great sage as well tonight.
Absolutely. Which particular great sage? We're talking about beer?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
That's right. You've been affected by the great hops.
I've been studying the great hops for many years, actually. I regard myself as a bit of an expert.
And look, and I must congratulate you on the Skeptic magazine format this month. It's a good little format. I quite like it. And you have successfully embarrassed me, which I thought was almost previously impossible.
No, I try very hard to embarrass you, Maynard.
All you had to do was accurately say what I do for a job, and my face went red.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, great. Now everyone knows.
That's right.
Yeah.
I always thought, actually, Maynard, you contributed a lot to that embarrassment, I should add.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You couldn't have done it without me.
Absolutely not. No, I'd agree with that, yes.
You've seen a lot of predictions in your time. Have there actually been any predictions by astrologers or psychics that have actually been on the money that have surprised you in being correct?
There have been some that are on the money, but they don't surprise you. If you make enough predictions, something somewhere is going to come true. But most of the predictions are pretty rubbish. Right? They're so vague and so general that they could apply to anything. And I've dealt with a lot of people who have come forward to me and sort of say they're psychics. My favourite one who came to me and could not tell me what my name was, even though I told her what my name was. And I said hi.
Well, that's not psychic, that's just deaf.
Well, I'd answer the phone to her and say, hi, it's Tim Menem from the Skeptics. And she'd come back about 3 minutes later and say, your name is Alan. I say, no, it's Keith. No. I said, I told you what my name was. And she said, don't tell me. I said, well, what do you have told? And this happened several phone calls in a row. And this poor lady was sort of obviously the world's worst psychic.
And she was ringing you for the challenge, for the 10,000?
She was ringing for the challenge and sort of generally to impress me with how good she was at being psychic, making predictions.
And actually, what would impress you from a psychic? I mean, how would you basically set up a test that would work, that would keep you happy? I mean, simply, how would you run it?
Are you talking predictions? Psychic predictions?
Well, if you were testing a psychic, what protocol would you put in place to do it accurately and quickly? Just simply, is there an answer to the way you do it?
Well, yeah, I mean, sort of the prediction side is pretty hard, actually, because a lot of people make predictions, psychic predictions, way out in the future, and you say, well, I can't wait 10 years to see if something's going to happen. That's what this psychic I'm talking to actually tried to do. I said, give me a particular time frame, make a very, very precise prediction, like, don't just say there's going to be an earthquake. Pick a place, a time, a strength, that sort of thing, right? Even so, earthquakes happen every minute of every day. But I mean, I need something very, very precise. I need a time frame which is precise, and basically that would be interesting to start with. But you need a number of those. With a general sort of psychic, you just go through the normal sort of parapsychology tests, but you do them properly under controlled conditions and that sort of thing. But the prediction stuff is fun. A lot of people sort of follow it, but then never follow up on it, and that's the problem, right? But I mean, we do it because we're spoil sports.
Now, I have spoken to Jessica Adams a few times, and she has spirit guides, and she explains that the predictions aren't completely accurate because in this realm we aren't meant to have that kind of accuracy given to us from other people, because if we did that, and particularly when it comes to things like creating wealth for ourselves, that there would be something wrong with that within the realms.
Okay, so that's in response to the question, if you know all these things, why aren't you rich?
Yeah.
Why can't you win the lotto or the horse race or that to predict the Melbourne Cup? It's a nice out, isn't it? It allows... No, it's an out. It's a pure out now. It's a way to sort of avoid being proved wrong, because you don't never make accurate predictions or, precise predictions.
I can tell you've encountered that one before.
Yeah, quite a lot. I've also encountered, though, people who make firm predictions, and I've had someone who made a lot recently about the weather and floods in Brisbane, etc., after the fact. But when they made these predictions, and I pointed out that the ones they were saying would come true in the future had not come true, they would then criticise me for being so picky, basically. I mean, there's always an excuse. They will never admit they're wrong.
And look, speaking of being wrong, in the recent episode of The Skeptic, you criticised two of the greats, Charles Berlitz and Eric von Daniken, in the same paragraph. I believe you used words as unsubstantiated evidence. Get under the house. Hit the guy's got Gold of the Gods, Return to the Stars, Chariots of the Gods. 3 books. What more do you want?
Excuse me, Chariots of the Gods, question mark. He had a question mark at the end of it. If you notice, the book is always a question mark. My favourite thing about Eric von Daniken is, I don't know if everyone notices...
He's a Scotch drinker. You've got to respect that.
He tried to be impressive by having a pipe, but he never actually lit the pipe. He was there on TV with his pipe in his mouth making pontificating statements, but it was never a light.
Come on. If you were filming a guy inside a small house, would you want him to be piping it up? And did he have a leather patch on his because Carl Sagan used to try that one on.
I think he had a suede coat with leather patches on him. Then again, I'm the sort of person who had leather patches on a woolen jumper. Just to be different.
I think I'll let you get back to the great sage, the great hops.
Thank you very much, mate. It's calling me a lot. Okay. Come here, Tim. It wins.
Look, it's January Skeptics in the pub, and as you all know, there's plenty of skeptics sitting on top of Christmas trees and bawling around at this time of year. It's a relaxed skeptic at the pub. There's actually no speaker or anyone doing anything. It's just basically skeptics at the pub and doing what they do at the pub, celebrating in the sort of alcoholic kind of way. Who have we got here?
I'm Nick.
And what brought you along to a Skeptics meeting? It's your first one.
Well, the fact that I've heard that it's on and heard that it sounds like there's a community of people and they're not religious, but it may be a community in other respects.
And what was the issue that hooked you onto it? And did you listen to a podcast, or how did you what was the actual connection spot?
Well, I've been to the Sydney Atheists group, and this was recommended as a similar group.
Oh, cool. Now, of course, being an atheist, you must have your favourite book of the Bible, because one thing we all know about atheists is that they really read their Bible, because if you're going to criticise something, it's always good to have something to pull out of the air. Do you have one at all?
Oh, for a bad book, I'd say Numbers, the death of 32,000 people, the enslavement of 32,000 Midianite virgins. For a book that's still useful and interesting, I'd say Song of Songs.
Wow. Now that's one I don't know much about. Has it got some poetry in it or something? What's going on there?
It's got a whole lot of beautiful love poetry. It talks about lovemaking being like fine wine. There's a man, supposedly kind of King Solomon, going off talking about this unmarried woman who he has this extensive relationship with.
Well, this is an area of the famous Bronze Age fiction that I've never actually got into here. This is amazing. Does it not get quoted often because there's a bit of naughtiness in it?
It's considered an adults-only section of the Bible that I'm sure many fundamentalists would wish that they could actually take out and not expose to children.
Wow. And look, you haven't got any predictions for 2013, have you? You decided to back away from that kind of thing?
Well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't hold them with any certainty. One prediction I would have is if Tony Abbott does win the federal election, I think he's going to have a leadership spill fairly soon afterwards, because I think the number of free thinkers and intelligent people would not stand for the kind of politics.
And would the initials MC be anywhere in there?
Quite possibly.
Right, so we're going to have a rapper as the head of the Liberal Party. Look, it's Rebel MC. That'd be good. That'd be great. I love that. MC Hammer. That'd be fantastic.
I'm not sure. That could hold well with the electorate.
No, I think this is a bold. I think we can look forward to having those MC Hammer pirate pants stuff going on in Parliament. That'd be fantastic. That'd solve the whole skirts or shorts debate. Everyone could just wear their MC Hammer pants in the House of Speakers.
Whatever happens, I'm sure it'll be a departure from the norm of the past.
Okay. Well, we'll see you at the next meeting, hopefully. Now, over here, we have someone who, it's your first time as well. Now, how did you find this? I saw you at Skeptic Camp, but why did you finally decide to come along and annoy us all here at Skeptics at the pub?
I actually have a day off today, sort of. I work later on tonight, but so I've got some time before work. I thought I'd come in.
But what website do you run?
I run Reporter Roth, Seek the Evidence, and Skeptical Kids. Seek the Evidence is supposed to be a community-run Wikipedia-styled website where people can contribute different videos, images that promote critical thinking or even cognitive information on different cognitive biases. And Skeptical Kids was supposed to be a website that's aimed between 7 and 15-year-olds to try and get them interested in thinking critically.
Now, your profession is as a security guard, so how many years have you been a security guard?
Just over 6-7 years.
Okay. Yeah. So in your 7 years of it sometimes wandering around in the dark on your own in a place where something might happen, have you had any what you would thought might have been intuitive moments, or have you been irrationally scared of something because of the dark or whatever? Have you had anything that you might have thought was a bit paranormal happen to you?
Paranormal, no, but every time you're going down an alleyway with trees touching your neck and running into spider webs, you get freaked out. Because no one wants to be bitten in the eye by a spider.
Wow. So that's cool. So even someone who's had training, and a tough guy like yourself, knows the firearms, you just don't want that huntsman anywhere near.
No. I would prefer not. I've walked through orb spider webs, and I just don't want them in my face.
And the great thing about walking into a spider web is that someone watching from a distance can't see the spider web. So suddenly they think that you're going crazy kung fu for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Stay away from that guy.
Yes.
Have you got a prediction for us? Because a few people have here. I mean, I know you haven't got your material here, the special magic bone, that kind of stuff.
I don't have my crystal ball in front of me, but I'm sort of hoping I'm going to have an engagement party, but if I continue working as much as I do, then maybe not. So we'll see how that pans out.
Look, now we're here at Skeptics in the pub. Who we got here?
I'm George.
Now, you do have some predictions for 2013.
Yes, I do. I believe that a celebrity will get cancer, an Australian politician will say something ludicrously uninformed, and a beloved animal will go extinct.
That's pretty cool. Now, a beloved animal of this country, or?
A beloved animal.
Right, okay. Do you want to make any more really out there ones? I mean, we had Jessica, the great sage Jessica over there earlier, predicting volcanoes, earthquakes, like large cataclysms happening. If you want to go on something right there?
I believe that somewhere on Earth, a meteor will hit the ground and become a meteorite.
Brave moves, my man. Okay, we're going to write them in the book right now.
Go ahead.
You want some money on this?
I'll put $5 on at least one of them happening.
You haven't got a feeling about any employees of the ABC, have you?
I believe someone's going to get fired.
The Hansard is a podcast of the monthly lectures run by Canberra Skeptics Incorporated. Each month, Canberra Skeptics provides experts in their field, ranging from science and philosophy to politics and national security, with an opportunity to present their views. You can find us at www.canberraskeptics.org.au. The Hansard, Canberra Skeptics' Record of Reason. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone 2013. A wonderful year ahead. I wonder if some of those predictions will come true. Probably they will. Thank you, Maynard, once again. As I've been gallivanting around the world, it's nice to know that I can always rely on reports from Maynard. It's really fabulous. Thank you, Maynard. And thank you, Dr. Rachie, for your Dr. Rachie reports as well on this week's show. Coming up on next week's show, more interviews from the Australian Skeptics National Convention last year now in Melbourne. And you know what? I'm going to try and get the gang together for a think tank. Got to do one of those at least soon. I hope. At least soon. But for now, I'm going to get some more ice out of the freezer, have another sip of that cool champagne, and enjoy being back. So, until next week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.